And happy Wednesday night to everybody out there. I am Sam, and this is the Seahawks FanTable, and with me I've got Ross and Zebulon Dak from all over the world.
These aren't the droids you're looking for.
Yes, they are.
The sexy kind of droids, too.
Super extra sexy for Halloween.
Halloween sexy droids?
Yeah.
I think actually for Halloween it's supposed to be slutty, right? Slutty droids and like
Well,
slutty nurse and slutty whatever.
I think one woman's sexy is another woman's slutty.
It's all about self-esteem issues, isn't it?
That's what Halloween's for. It's like the new thing, right? Doesn't really matter what you wear. It's just like, okay, that person hates himself, and that person thinks really highly of themselves.
Yeah, I'd say, I guess that's the time you kind of lay it all out. You got it.
Yeah. Don't got it, so I'm just like, whatever. I'm just going to give out candy. But welcome back, guys. Thanks for joining in, as always. Hopefully you guys had a interesting week. Seahawks-wise, it's probably one of the weirdest weeks in Seahawk history, wouldn't you say?
Oh, by far.
Yeah. I mean, like, I just a few minutes ago got away from watching the TV screen trying to figure out how I was supposed to feel.
Right, how do you feel? How are you supposed to feel?
I don't know, right? This is stupid. I asked a couple of I live in Tokyo. I have a lot of expat friends, and obviously they follow soccer. And in soccer, there's a lot of draws.
Yeah.
So I actually talked to some of my friends this week about how you're supposed to feel because, you know, that's just not most American sports. You don't deal with ties very often.
Yeah, not
But in
almost
soccer,
none.
It's very common. And so I talked to them, and they were just laughing at the question. I was just like, how do you feel?
Yeah, but to be fair, with soccer or football, however you want to call it, or even like hockey, they have a point
Football.
system. It's a table system, you know. You get 3
Right.
points for a win, you get a point for a draw, and you get 0 points for a loss. When it comes to American sports, like, win's the only thing that matters. And it's weird because a tie counts as half a win. The Seahawks are 4-1-1. The Cardinals are a real logistic 500. They're 3-3-1. It's kind of weird.
Well, that's another annoying thing about it, isn't it? I mean, like when you're doing like the stats, you're trying to figure out your winning percentage. After years and years of dealing with whole numbers, now you have to put in like this half win.
Yeah.
It's one more headache. You're like, ugh.
Yeah, because
So you played like, especially now, like where there's some buys. Some people have had their buys, some teams have not. So maybe we have one less win than another team, but one less loss. But we have a tie. So are we ahead of them or are we behind them?
yeah, I mean, the only thing that really matters is at the end of the year, you know, regardless of 1, 2, 3, or 4, if Seahawks win the division, you need to have the same level of wins, and then that half win puts you ahead. So you can't get into a tiebreaker scenario now because
Yes.
no one has a tie. Like literally, the tie is knocking you out of any tiebreaker scenario.
Yeah, I guess unless
Well, I
there's
mean,
another tie.
On the opposite side, though, it puts you ahead. I mean, if we have the same number of wins as somebody, but we have a tie, don't we win? Because that counts as a half a win.
Yeah, so Seattle would win, but it's a scenario where there are no tiebreakers that Seattle can be.
Well, I mean, yeah,
Entered
that's like
into.
this year, no matter what, we don't have to worry about tiebreakers because that tie in there is going to make it flip either one way or the other.
Well, unless somebody else ties. Not that that's likely, but you never know.
Yeah,
That's true.
it's weird. So like even in the case with Arizona, even if, like unless we tie with Arizona again, Seattle or Arizona is going to have a clear advantage over one another at the end of the year.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty odd because most of the time it's like, oh, well, they're tied head to head 1-1, or someone's 2-0 head to head, so you know that's an extra game win. That's not the case here, and it's something that we don't see a lot of, and we'll talk more about kind of ties later on, but there's a lot of other things that happened this past weekend. You know, this is the first Seahawks tie in history in the 41 years. There's still players that don't even know that games can end in ties. It's such a rarity, even though it does happen enough,
Right.
but not rare enough.
Yeah.
Well, that was the big thing a few, was it 4 years ago when McNabb, must have been maybe more than that, McNabb famously didn't know that the game could end.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just him. But he was the most obvious on the field, and he was the one who talked about it later. So like the whole world kind of came down on him about it. But it
Yeah.
was kind of funny. I mean, like, he's an NFL player, and he didn't know that the game could end in a tie.
Well, there are people that do. I didn't know that in overtime that there was a 2 minute warning. I could
I didn't know that either. I had no idea.
yeah. I was in my car on the way home because once they got to the 5 yard line, I was so tired. I wasn't 100% healthy. I was watching the game at my friend's house. I'm like, oh my god, I'm so tired. I'm so drained. I just need to go home. I did not fathom what would happen. So I actually missed what happened. And
Oh, you didn't see it?
no, and I'm checking my Twitter on the way to my car, and someone just like starts, they're just screaming on, hashtag Twitter, whatever they're saying, and then my friend calls me who I was watching the game with, and he was like I figured the only reason why he called me is because they missed a field goal, and I said, did they miss a field goal? And he said yes. I gotta get in my car. I gotta turn on the radio right now, and I turned on to Steve Rabel, and I was listening and go off. So I got to hear the Seahawks drive afterwards, and also the terrible result of that. But yeah, so I was in a situation where I actually didn't see what happened until I rewatched the last, minute and a half of the game before it ended.
Well, yeah, I will say for as difficult of a game as it was to watch, because it was work, it was hard, it was frustrating. The end of it was so much fun when it came down to it. Like it went from being one of the hardest games to watch to one of the most fun I had watching a game outside of the big playoff wins and stuff. So my feelings about the game and my opinion of it changed drastically just at the end of the game. And I think because of that, I probably walked away with better feelings about the way it turned out than I would have otherwise.
Yeah.
It took me a full day. I totally changed as well. I mean, I agree with you 100%. My feeling on the game changed, but it was the next day. On the day of, that was a Monday morning here, I wasn't angry. I was flustered. I was frustrated. I was negative, not as negative as I could be. I mean, if it was a loss, it would have been worse. But
Right.
I felt pretty negative. But by evening time, when I'd had some time to settle down and thought about it, I appreciated more the fact that it wasn't a loss. And I started really focusing on all the positives because there were plenty of positives in the game. And I thought about the defense, and I went and watched a Rocky movie after. I just felt like the defense acted like a Rocky. They just kept taking the best punch and never went down.
Yeah.
The offense didn't show up, but we'll talk about that later. But
Defense, though.
it took me a while to see the positives, but there were a lot of. That was in their home. That's their home stadium. Their offense is on the field for 46 minutes and never scores a touchdown.
Yeah.
I'll take that, I guess.
Yeah.
So let's kind of piggyback off that. This is not an official topic, but can we talk about Bobby Wagner for like a hot second? Because did you know that what he did was possible? I mean, we saw Cam Chancellor do it 2 years ago in the divisional game against the Panthers, but that game was already well in hand. So what he did, while impressive and amazing, didn't have the same meaning to it because the game was kind of already in hand. Like, Seattle wasn't trying to fight them off to keep the Carolina Panthers at the bay. That was just like, oh, well, we're going to try something new. But Bobby Wagner...
I think that was sort of, it was testing the theory.
Right. And Bobby Wagner, I've never seen something like that. I mean, I know Cam did it, but what Bobby did seemed to me more impressive because the stakes are so much higher, and he cleared the center so well, and he legitimately blocked that first one like it was nothing. It was almost as if he might as well have been running untouched and perfectly timed everything. It was so impressive from a physical standpoint, from an execution standpoint, from a play calling standpoint. It was one of the most incredible Seahawks play I've seen in recent history to my mind and to my memory.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen over the recent years players in the league make that jump, but to do it the way he did it, to actually get the block in a game where a block would end up being so important, it's pretty impressive. And I think obviously most of these guys are amazing world class athletes, but I didn't realize that Bobby Wagner was that kind of athlete, that he would be able to pull something off like that. I was really impressed with it.
Yeah, seriously. Any comments
As a
about?
side note, as a side note, I think I mentioned last week. I have somebody who works. A friend of mine works in the stadium down there. He lives in Phoenix. When Cam did it a couple of years ago, his wife messaged me and was like, "Wow, I saw the play. I saw the play where Cam jumped over the center. That was amazing. That was super great. That was so cool." Same exact person this week sends me a message when Bobby Wagner did, because happening against the Cardinals. This just shows you how non-objective people are. Sends me 2 messages this week complaining about it. That shouldn't be in football. That shouldn't be allowed. It's not against the rules.
That sounds like Bruce Arians.
So
Why would it be against the rules? I don't understand why people got mad about it. Like, he did
I
what
don't know.
he
I
had
mean,
to
like,
do to make a play.
that's the thing. They changed all the rules a few years ago. Like, that's why he has to be 1 yard away from the center, and it's all about safety because that center's a vulnerable person. But again, if you're making sure you don't make any contact, then it shouldn't be. You know what I mean?
Incidental contact is allowed.
Yeah, the incidental contact is allowed and things like that. But I was so tempted to look up her old emails and send them back at her, but I decided not to be that petty. But trying not to be that way anymore. But oh my gosh, it was just so the hypocrite level was just turned up to 11.
Yeah, especially because that's like a real world thing. Like
Sorry?
that's a real world thing for you. You saw like it in the exact same scenario when it wasn't their team.
Same thing. The exact same person in one case going, "That's so amazing," but oh, if it happens to my team, that's so bad. That's maybe it's within the rules, but it's against the spirit of the rules, and oh no,
Hell, it is.
I mean, it's exactly what it was meant to do. Like, if you can do that play, if you can do it safe, if you're going to be dangerous at all, then you have to stop.
Yeah.
But if you have the athletic ability to do it, more power to you.
So, a couple of things before we kind of get into our core topics. We've got Stephen Hauch, P-H-E-N, just in case anyone was wondering. No V. S-T-E-P-H-E-N, Hauch. Not so
4
money.
years into his career.
not so money this week. Normally we call him Hush Money, but not so money this week. Seattle is tied with the Vikings as the number one scoring defense again, averaging 14 points a game. They'll play equal number of games, so that number is fully legit. And Russell Wilson says he's healthy, but he was limited in practice. This is the first time he's ever been limited. It's saying it's a pec issue right now. These are some weird things that are happening. Number one scoring defense, that's not weird. That's actually pretty standard for the Seahawks. But Stephen Hauch missing a field goal when we really needed him to, and Russell Wilson not being healthy. These are kind of new things for Seahawks fans. What are your guys' quick takes on that? Ross, what do you think?
Well, Russell Wilson, I mean, they have to say he's healthy, right? I mean, they knew he was going to practice, so they've always said from week one, "Hey, he's fine, he's fine."
Yeah, but Pete's not saying that though.
Last game finally said that he's
yeah.
He gave one sentence of a pause from the normal routine, and said, "I mean, you guys can see him," talking to the reporters, right? I mean, you see him, and the last game, and there's claim that there's been no setbacks, but I clearly thought there was. I remember seeing at the end of week 7's game, he didn't seem quite right again, and in this past game, he seemed more limited than he was in the week before, and I thought he clearly had some sort of setback on the knee or the ankle.
Yeah,
the pec shows up in the injury report today, and I don't think any of us can comment on that because that's out of left field. I had no idea, and he still practiced, so he could still throw the ball. So hopefully that's not a big issue. Yeah. As far as the Money House guy, I think it's actually a 2-week thing. Right? He missed one the week before, because I remember I was actually amazed by Russell Wilson's reaction to it, because I'm not a super negative person myself, but I usually go, "Oh darn!" first. "Oh, I missed it," and then I'm like, "Okay, well, he'll make the next one." But Russell Wilson didn't even have that darn part. He's going, "You'll make the next one." Told him immediately, "You'll make the game winner,"
and he did.
So so I clearly remember it. He might be in a mini slump, but Phoenix has always been a bad place for him to kick, though. So maybe he's not in any slump. Maybe it's the curse of Phoenix in the popcorn bowl.
Yeah, and that their weird field that rolls out. Zeb.
Yeah.
Unnecessary moving field. Well, we call him Hauch Party 3 over here, and we got a little chant we do every time he kicks. And so far this year, it's not really working out as well as it has previously. So
you guys got to change up your party snack. That's what.
I guess, but God, I hope he just gets it together. Russell, again, every week it's a new thing. The Cardinals blitz the hell out of him, and with that O-line and the injuries now, and it's obviously he's getting hit, he's taking them hits, and he's that stuff's gonna pile up. Hopefully, I don't know. We keep saying the same thing every week. Hopefully, he'll get enough. It doesn't seem to be positive, does it?
Yeah, I think that's kind of one thing that, again, this is kind of new territory for Seahawks fans. A non-healthy Russell Wilson, Stephen Hauch changes his name. All of a sudden, people are doubting his ability, and it's kind of a new territory. But yeah, thanks for your thoughts. So we'll kick it off. We're going to get into our first topic here, but it's kind of 2 weeks in a row where Seahawks and the teams they've placed have been like the narrative about the NFL. 2 weeks ago, it was Atlanta and defensive pass interference at the end of the game. What should happen? Should we change the entire way that we review penalties or non-calls? That was a huge story. And now we have a tie. Should the NFL have ties? We talked a little bit about it earlier, but since 1974, there have been 21 ties, and they first implemented an actual overtime quarter in 1974. So they're averaging, well less than, they're averaging about half of one game every 2 years ends in a tie. And if you look at it, the history, most of them have definitely been geared more towards the earlier eras, in the 70s and 80s, and even less so in 2000, 2010s, and what we're seeing today. And the fact that Seahawks has never been in one, the Cardinals have been in 3, it's a really weird thing. Ross, what do you think? You know people that are fans of other sports. You talk to your soccer friends. Do you personally think the NFL should have ties? And if they shouldn't, what is that solution?
I'm against the tie. I think it's really a problem when it gets like we've got a 16-game season only, and it's so psychologically unsatisfying. You need like a real conclusion to the game. I jokingly asked you earlier this week if you just thought it was like un-American, right? I mean, it almost feels like that, right? Like American games don't end in ties. Baseball, you play as many innings as you need to. And that's different. I mean, like even here in Japan, one of the two leagues, if it goes, I think, to the 13th inning and it's a tie, they go home.
Yeah,
it's over. Americans don't like ties. I think it's part of the culture. I mean, I've been abroad for a long time. I still don't like the tie. I'd like there to be something. Russell Wilson's idea was really funny, right? Like you get the ball and you move it down, you kick a field goal, and if you make the field goal, you win. If you lose, the game's still over. Just you lose. So you get the ball and you move. So there's like one field goal. I don't quite like that, but I do like how it involves both aspects of the game. It involves the special teams and the offense and the other team's defense. So it's all involved in deciding. I thought something like I had two ideas. I thought maybe one, you give both teams 5 tries from the 5-yard line and see how many they make in, and whoever has made the most in wins.
Penalty touchdowns. Instead of PKs, it'll be PTs.
Yeah, exactly. And if it doesn't, and if it's tied up to that, you just keep doing one at a time. And, or alternatively, each team gets the ball on their 20-yard line, and you get 6 downs to score. Right?
Yeah.
And if you don't, and if neither scores, it goes by whoever made the most yards. However far you got down the field. I mean, something, right? My last totally off the. Did you guys ever play the game like 500 when you were in like grade school?
Yeah,
Like you built the up.
Fires up.
So, or like we had another game that you can't even say the name of. Smear the.
Right.
Maybe a game of that, like where like first we punt to their guy and then to their punt returner, and you count like you time how many seconds he stays up until he gets tackled. Not even yards, just how long he can stand up on the field. And then you do the other side. And whoever's punt returner stayed up standing the longest, they win the game. It's a win. That's a bizarre thing, but you know what? You gotta have something.
I am actually of the opposite mind. I have no problem with the tie, and I got a couple reasons for it. First,
because you live in Portland.
Why I don't care is because it's it's just non-consequential. It doesn't matter. Like at the end of the season, whoever has the better record gets into the playoffs, and that tie it goes for you or against you based on the other teams around you. So it doesn't make a difference ultimately in whether you tied or not. More importantly, I think one of the reasons why they don't do more to try to solve the tie is because of what we saw with Richard Sherman in particular after this game. He was absolutely spent.
Yeah.
It's too physical. It takes too much out of these guys. There has to be that point where nobody's winning this game. Let's all go home. Because we can't physically put any more into this. And, in the playoffs, obviously you have to have a winner, so that's different. But in the regular season, I'm perfectly fine with them leaving it as it is. A tie's a tie. Not a big deal to me. One thing I did want to bring up that I think it would be interesting if the NFL went to, instead of penalty kicks, field goals at the end of overtime, where you just line up and you kick 5 field goals and see which team can score the most points that way.
We had that. 2 kickers missed it. That was the most depressing thing I think any football fan had ever seen. So,
I'd be okay with that. I think though, like 5 kicks from the 50, 50 yards from the 40.
Yeah.
So you make something. I'd be okay with that.
That's asking a lot out of your linemen. But.
Yeah, I'm kind of along the lines with Zeb. I'm not too peeved off by the tie at the end of the day because it was a really weird game. I mean, you had Bobby Wagner who missed a snap because he was busy getting an IV. There were so many players that talked about getting an IV. Yeah, the University of Phoenix Stadium, whatever they call it, it's air conditioned, it's dome, but it's still in Arizona. It's still hot. They said that, you could still feel the temperature. They played a ton of snaps. Bobby Wagner missed 1. KJ Wright played all of them. Richard Sherman played all of them. Earl Thomas played all of them. That's a lot to ask. And Earl Thomas and Richard Sherman, they're running around. KJ Wright's running around. They're not just like, oh, the play's behind me, I'm going to give up. Like they're playing every down. Kelsey McRae played 108 snaps. Props to him.
Special teams as well, yeah.
Yeah, props to that. So I'm of the mindset that no one wants to have a tie. I don't like it because it just makes it harder to calculate, okay, what do we have to do? Like, it's not an issue now of, do we have the tiebreaker? It's no, you just have to have as many wins as they do or more. And that's what I am most concerned about. How does this affect the Seahawks at the end of the year? 4-1-1.
And that's why you guys disagree. That's because you're looking at it as a fan, right? Purely as a fan. And that's what we are. But think of the players. The players are out there. Like you said, they gave their blood and their guts for 5 quarters, and at the end of it, there's not a result.
It's not a result. Yeah, it's not desirable though. But
you heard Russell Wilson. You heard Sherman. Sherman gave it up, but you heard him. He didn't want to fight. He wants to win. Or if you deserve to lose, you deserve to lose. You want a result, don't you want a result?
Yeah, but this is the way that I look at this game.
How long did you just stare? Oh, you were in your car. How long did you stare at your radio, thinking like, how do I feel? I didn't lose, but we didn't win.
I think as a Seahawk fan, I knew obviously we had a chance to win, but the field goal at the end, it was missed. I was more relieved, honestly, that we ended up ended up with the tie because I thought we were going to lose that game. As much as I trust the defense, as much as respect as I have for them, as much as I admire what they can do, I did not think that they could just continue to take on the Arizona defense and continue to win. I mean, you look at the yardage, you look at the production they had compared to what the Seahawks offense was able to do and be like, man, these guys are so gassed. Like, they're going to give up the big play. And they gave up a few big plays, but nothing that allowed Arizona to take over. They had a blocked field goal, which was amazing. They had a blocked punt that actually allowed them to tie the score 3-3. They didn't force any turnovers, but they harassed Carson Palmer enough times. They were able to play against a much better offensive line and get pressure, move guys out of the pocket. Larry Fitzgerald was pretty much a non-factor in this game. They had to rely on their second, third, fourth options. You know, David Johnson, on paper, you know, just if you look at the core stats, you would say, oh yeah, he had 100 yards, he had like 40 receiving yards. But if you've seen what he'd been doing before that game, that was a terrible game for him. He averaged like 3.3 yards a carry, but they ran it 33 times. So if you run it that many times,
you're going to get 100 yards.
And the thing is, he wasn't even running with success. I think his longest run for the entire day was 14 yards. That defense played out of their mind. And like I said, I was so tired. I obviously wasn't feeling well, but I was so like drained emotionally as a fan watching that game. I was like, I'm just happy that we didn't lose. That's how I came out of it, and that's how I kind of feel. You know, ties happen so rarely. I'm not one of these people that's gonna be totally crazy and say that we have to revolutionize football. I'm happy with the way it is. It's a rare enough occurrence, and the first time as Seahawks fans I've ever had to deal with. I'm not worried about it.
I want to win. I want to lose or I win. I mean, like, to be honest, I mean, like, I really understand what you're saying because if you said we deserve to lose the game, it would be hard to argue that. I mean, like, our defense had an epic game, maybe the most epic game ever, really.
I think it's one of the best defensive performances I've ever seen.
Oh, I no question. And in that way, you say, hey, you know, you'd like to get those guys to win, but you have to have more than 150 yards of offense in the, you know, through three quarters maybe to win. You have to have more than, you know, 3 yards of carry for one game, please. At some point.
I think I see both sides of the coins. I get it. I just think that it happens so rarely that it's not worth making a big deal about to change a rule. Every year we change some rules, you know, 25-yard line now or the 2-possession overtime, all that stuff. When's the last time you thought back, remember how much football used to suck before they changed this rule? You don't. You've always loved it. It's always been good. These rule changes to me are arbitrary and, for the most part, don't improve or lessen the quality of football.
Yeah, I don't think it has to change it for the quality. It just, again, the clear result. I mean, and it's very, very true. It doesn't have to change because it's such a rare thing anyway. But you know, like when you're watching Sports Center or you're watching the highlight shows, imagine the last highlight isn't like they show the missed field goal and you see the two teams walking off going, so what does that mean? Instead, like the last highlight you see is like the kickers like kicking, maybe even simultaneously kicking different directions, kicking the 5 field goals. And they have the little counter on the bottom, 1, 2, 3, and then Hauch makes the 5th one and we win. I mean, like that would be pretty tense. That would be pretty intense.
It could be fun.
It could be really fun.
What's funny is you guys are perfectly leading into our next topic. We've got the emotional, passionate version, and we have the, you know, I'm going to take it one day at a time. I'm going to look at this holistically. That's kind of the coaches that we saw in this game. The coach approach at the end of this game was really interesting, not only in the game calling, the way it was played out by the players and the way that it was coached, but even in the press conference. You have Pete Carroll and Bruce Arians. And this is kind of a perfect way to start. So, Zeb, I'm going to start you off. You took the more reserved approach, and we're going to start you off, and we're going to let the passion kick off second.
Well, I think, and maybe I'm biased, but I prefer the way Pete Carroll handled the situation than the way Bruce Arians did. And not necessarily because I think that it's the better way to coach. Maybe Bruce Arians, his style is better for coaching, but I think Pete Carroll's style is better at being a human. And to me, that's, I love football, but that's more important. I like the way Pete Carroll handled the situation. I like this. You support your guys, you have their back, win or lose, and I think that he showed a lot of class, and he was very representative of the organization, the way they do things, and the way that they treat each other. And I think it went a long way to show that that's Seahawks football. That's the way the team is. That they're a family. They're together and they support each other.
Yeah, really quick, sorry to interrupt here. I wanted to do a quick shout out. Brian Krasno just wrote on Facebook and he said, tie games have always been a part of football as long as I can remember. Considering the way our offense played and our position in the West, I'm cool with this tie. So, Brian, thank you for the quick comment. Fiery passion. The coach approach at the end of this game. Ross, what'd you think?
Did you guys see Whiplash?
Yeah.
The movie Whiplash?
No, that's J.K. Simmons, though, right?
Yeah. He's the jazz teacher, and it's almost like a sports movie type of movie, but it's about music. And a quote in that movie he says is that the two most damaging words in the English language are "good job," and that's what we do these days, right? Everybody does something, and we're like, "Oh, hey, good job, good job, good job," and so we never push them, right? And so I get the whole, and I agree with that movie actually in a sense. If you want somebody to be great, you have to push them to be great. But I don't think it's contradictory with how Pete Carroll's, like Zeb just said, like as a human being, Pete Carroll's approach is better. But I think a lot of people kind of inwardly, and it's old school, just kind of suspect maybe Bruce Arians' kind of hard ass way or old school way of handling it is maybe the better way to coach. But I kind of don't think so. I think it's the easier way, but I don't think it's better. I agree with Pete Carroll that he says every coach is also a teacher. And every moment is a teaching moment. And so what are you teaching the kicker after that? You can go out in front of the media and say, hey, it's not high school, man. You got to make that. You get paid. Or you can say, hey, we love you, man. You're still part of the team. We love you. And because you're going to need him next week. You're going to need him 2 weeks from now to make a game winner. And you need to be building him up, not tearing him down. There is a time and a place for the negativity. The Seahawks famously have Tell the Truth Monday. When they went in there, and I'm sure they showed that missed kick on the screen, and everybody was like, hey, Hauch, man. They gave him the rousing, but they did it as a team. The teammates have a right to say that to him, and he knows he lets them down. But it has to be in that context. In front of the world, you don't say that. You don't sell your guy. You don't throw him under the bus. That's the worst thing ever. How does that help him? You think he doesn't know he needs to make the kick? No.
Right.
Well, how are you helping him towards the next time that situation comes up? By telling him you'll make it next time? Or by saying, you're a professional, man. What are you doing? You act like it's high school. So next time he goes up to kick, maybe he's got that in his mind instead of you telling him how great he is. It's the worst thing in the world. This is 2016. We've come a long way from 60 years ago where we thought those kinds of things worked, and I don't think they ever really did. Maybe people think it's a softening of America. I don't think it's getting smarter. And I just think you really, really want to build that person up. And if, Bruce Arians, you want to blame your kicker, again, our defense was on there for 46 minutes. That means your offense was on there for 46 minutes. They couldn't score a touchdown in 46 minutes on the field, and you're going to blame your kicker? What? Really?
Right.
Who's that teaching? What are you teaching? What is your teaching moment? What is your objective when you say that? And I think that's where it comes down to. What is your objective when you're communicating to the world and to your people? And I think he's communicated all the wrong things. That's my opinion.
No, I think that's really true. I agree with both of you guys that Pete Carroll and Bruce Arians are very different coaches outwardly, but I think if you talk to any of their players, they have nothing but great things to say about their coach. Now, the one thing that I think when you look at Pete Carroll and the way he says, "This is how I coach. I accept you for who you are. You excel who you are." As long as it benefits the team, as long as it does the best for our team. Outside of that, do what you want, be crazy, be loud, be passionate, that's cool. And then on the Bruce Arians side, you have a guy who's more of, this is the way that I do it. This is my way, my way, my way. and then it's kind of like a rah mentality. But to what you were saying, Ross, about like how they handled it with the kicker, I think if you are in the business world and you have the opportunity to interact with people, you have the opportunity to be a manager or a lead or a peer or a mentor, the opportunity for you to help someone grow is, what can you learn from a mistake? What can you learn from this opportunity, and try to help someone improve? If all you have to offer someone is to tell them that they failed when they themselves probably already knew that, there's nothing to learn. There's nothing to grow. If I say, hey, this is bad, and you already know it's bad, what can you take from that? That's kind of the approach that I think Carroll took, not only in this situation, but in this game. Going back to the way that they played this game, Bruce Arians coached with passion. He says, oh, I'm going to show the world, I'm going to go for it on fourth down, I'm going to, go for it even though we're well within field goal range, and I'm going to make a statement. And you got stuffed so hard by the Seattle defense. And really quickly, I don't know if you guys remember this, but on that fourth down play, the two sideline judges run down and signal fourth down. And then or it might have been third down. I think it was on third down. The sideline judges ran down, signaled fourth down. It was like 4th and inches. And then the head ref, out of nowhere, runs up to the sideline judges and just signals first down. Seattle calls a timeout, and they officially make it 4th and short. And then they end up punting. That was a really weird scenario. Sorry.
Yeah, it was totally a tad confusing. I remember it being a little bit confusing as to exactly what was going on there.
And I felt like they had to, reconvene, and it wasted the Seahawks timeout. But the way that they coach, the way that Pete Carroll coaches in game versus the way that you saw Bruce Arians coached, while maybe the Seahawks did not execute in the way they wanted to, and they didn't run as much as I wanted them to run, they played within what I think that they saw as their opportunity and what they felt that they could succeed in. Bruce Arians, to me, coached in trying to take advantages of things that were not there to have to his advantage. Rather than kicking field goals early, rather than not planning to get sacked at the end of the second quarter, at the end of the first half, it cost him points. That's legitimately 6 points that he could have had if he was able to think about it more objectively and say, hey, this is an opportunity for me to get points because I don't think Seattle can move the ball. 2 times he had that, and 2 times he failed. Whereas I don't see that happening with Pete Carroll. I don't see that happening with him in how much he prepares and how mental he is when it comes to that aspect of the coaching game.
Yeah, I think Bruce Arians, in an attempt to out-tough us, to outplay us, ultimately got out-coached in a sense. Where instead of taking the points, wanted to be the tough guy, wanted to show that they can do it, and left points on the field. So, that's just not very good coaching.
Yeah. Ross, closing
thoughts?
I
think we talked about it. I think we talked a little bit last week. He just seems full of hubris to me. I mean, like, instead of realizing it's Seattle, points are probably going to be at a premium, take them wherever I can get them, let's go for that. He got, like you said, Sam, he's going to show us, because he's bigger and he's better and he's stronger and he's whatever else he thinks he is, he's going to do that. And it, like you said, it didn't work out for him. And I don't think he learned even a single lesson even from that.
Yeah.
Going into halftime, he's talking about, like, what's going on. And his comment was, well, they'd stop holding us. I mean, like, even then, taking no responsibility for his own actions, his own decisions.
What an asshole for that comment.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's him in a nutshell. I mean, again, at the end of the game, you're going to blame the kicker. But you know what? Like, if you'd given the kicker the 2 other chances you could have, but you decided not to because you wanted to be a man or whatever it is you think you're proving.
He's a Kangol hat. Walking Kangol hat.
Yeah.
But that leads us into the topic 3. So positivity matters. This is something that I think anyone who watches a lot of press conferences sees even more so, because it's the greatest opportunity for you to see that. But Pete Carroll, Russell Wilson, even the other players, Richard Sherman to a degree, they all preach positivity. They all preach about thinking about the good things that are coming, the good things that they did, and not focusing on the negative. This is a philosophy that I think Pete Carroll has done an excellent job at really, permeating throughout his organization, to the point where when you read their sound bites, you would question, okay, well, is this Pete Carroll, the head coach, speaking, or is this Russell Wilson speaking? You hear it on the mic'd up segments. Ross, this was your topic. I know you want to talk about it a little more detail. What do you think about positivity when it comes to the Seahawks and how they operate?
For me, this is going to sound corny, because that's how it came across at first. When Pete Carroll came in, there was a lot of talk like he's a college coach, and that's not going to play in the NFL, and he's a little corny, and is it fake? And you hear the same people say about Russell Wilson, because he's famously positive. But after all, the time in here, I've turned around on 100%. And I think I mentioned to you before, it's kind of become personal for me. Like, I'm not a person who my entire life has ever been like a follower. I'm not one who reads a lot of biographies for inspiration, things like that. But I found myself attracted to Pete Carroll's style eventually, believing in it. I mean, I don't believe in every single part of it, but the whole very, very positive sense of it, and bringing in positive people around him, and seeing how that really, really does matter, because it clearly does matter. They don't always have the best talent. They don't always have the best coordinators. Some people argue, but they always get the best results. How does he get the best results out of everybody? More than how he communicates positively, I think he listens positively. I think he interacts positively. And like you were alluding to earlier, Sam, he accepts everybody for who they are. He thinks about how to teach them, not just as a boss, but as a real mentor. He's done it for a long time, and he wants them to come away with something from the experience. And he doesn't try to fit everybody into one box. You're not all the same. He takes the time to learn how his learners learn. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Some people you just want to talk to in a certain way. Some people you want to give examples to. Some people you want to show. Some people you want to tell. Some people learn best by doing, and he takes the time to learn that. And he approaches everything as a teaching moment. I used to think it was garbage. Even his first two, even when they were starting to have success, I didn't really buy into it. I thought it was kind of like a PR technique, some people still suspect Russell Wilson of being. It's all about creating this image. But when I started giving the benefit of the doubt and looking at it, I started seeing if he himself really does buy into it at all times, and you start noticing how much it's really, really true, and how he seems to go out of his way. It's not an accident they chose Russell Wilson, not purely because of his athletic ability, but I think because of that positivity. And Russell Wilson's the only person I've ever seen who's more positive than Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
He's the only person who is out with the positive breath of fresh air even before Pete Carroll is. And there's no way that's an accident. And again, on defense, Richard Sherman, some people I think misunderstand and think he's a negative person, but then you listen to what he's saying. He says it with an angry, scary face sometimes, but you'll never hear him swear, and it's always a positive reaction to what's going on. Or, especially the last couple of years, maybe that one rant against Crabtree wasn't super positive, but looking at it back, it wasn't super negative either, because you understood I understood anyway why he took it as an insult. It's the last game of the season. You make that play, you win, and you go after him. I take it. He took it as an insult, but he's matured a lot. He's turned that. And then even though angry Doug Baldwin, we call him angry Doug Baldwin, but all he does is positive. He says it with his angry face, which isn't quite as scary as Sherman's, but he does it in a positive way. Look at how he approached the whole, Kaepernick-inspired, anthem situation.
Build a bridge.
The guys are leading the situation. So, I think it explains a lot of what they've done. That's my rant.
I'm a huge believer in the power of positivity, and I think it's a big reason why we're consistently a contender in this league under Pete Carroll. How often do you see somebody with a defeated demeanor or a defeated attitude? How often do they turn around and do something great next time? You know, not very often. When you're positive, that's how you get better. That's how you succeed. When something's going wrong in your life and you get pouty and you're angry at the world, that doesn't improve your situation. That doesn't do anything for you. What does something for you is being positive and looking at what you can do to improve, what you can do next time to get better. People talk about the power of prayer, but I think what that really is the power of positivity. There's nothing supernatural about it. It's when you have a positive attitude and you use that attitude to work towards the goal as opposed to expecting it to come to you on its own. What was that movie or that book that came out a decade or so ago, The Secret?
Yeah.
All that was saying that if you believe, then you will take the steps to achieve.
Yeah.
And to me, that's what the power of positivity is. That's Pete Carroll's style, and it's become the Seahawks style.
Yeah, I would look at positivity matters in regard to positivity matters when you apply it in the right thing. I don't know if you guys remember, but Russell Wilson, he spoke to, I think it was Wisconsin, he spoke to the graduating class of Wisconsin, and he said that no matter how hard I try, no matter how hours I practice, I will never be a great singer. I think that's what he said. He will never be a great singer, no matter how positive he is. And he understands that positivity matters in things that are achievable, things that your talent allows you to do. For a football player, it's a little bit different, but for me, no matter how positive I think, like, oh yeah, this scratch ticket's going to be the big winner, it doesn't matter how positive I think that's going to be, it has no impact.
Right.
But if it's like, I am positive that if I work hard, I'm going to get rewarded in my job at work, that has impact because you can apply that towards something. You can make it part of your craft. And that's where I think Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, to a huge degree, have actually put their positivity to help them perform. Russell Wilson's talked since he got drafted by the Seahawks, winning multiple Super Bowl champions. As a longtime Seahawks fan, I'm like, oh, that's cute. I'm so happy that you're so positive right away, but you're not even the starter yet. I mean, that's the way that I thought. Here we are, into year 5 of Russell Wilson. I'm like, oh yeah, we're pretty much a perennial playoff contender, which means we have a chance to win Super Bowls. That's not something that I think you can take for granted because the NFL is so fickle. It is so hard. But the positivity that Pete Carroll applies, that Richard Sherman applies, that Doug Baldwin applies, that Cam Chancellor, that Earl Thomas, that all of these guys apply to their job and to their ability, into their role, does have a huge impact. Russell Wilson, as fake as people want to assume he is, I have a hard time believing that to be true now, just because he doesn't change his persona at any given time. I'm sure there are times where, he's pissed off just like a regular human, but I don't think he's human. But you look at his mic'd ups. No, I'm serious. The mic'd up game in the NFC Championship game against the Green Bay Packers, I was at that game live, so I never saw it. But the mic'd up, he was saying, Jermaine Kearse, I'm going to throw you the game winner. Hey, Darrell Bevel, hey, I'm going to see this thing, and I'm going to get a game winner to Jermaine Kearse. He threw the guy 4 passes. They all got intercepted. He's still saying positive things. And if you're Jermaine Kearse, you're like, dude, don't throw me the ball because it's just not happening today. But sure enough, at the end of the game, with the game in question, he throws a beautiful ball to Jermaine Kearse. Perfect pass, perfect catch. They go on to win the NFC Championship game. And that's an example, I think, of that positivity matters. Russell Wilson is such a believer in it. It's hard not to believe in him as well. We've talked about, maybe Doug Baldwin doesn't like Russell Wilson because their personalities are so different, but they respect each other. And that's a case where I think that positivity has a huge impact, because if Russell Wilson says, hey, Doug, I'm going to throw you this jump ball and I believe you're going to make it, Doug Baldwin does not doubt himself. He knows that Russell Wilson believes in him, and it's true appreciation for one another that allows them to play so well. You look at that last play that Doug Baldwin almost took to the house. Like, it was so close. I watched that replay, and he just juked Tyrann Mathieu like on a drag route and just took it upfield, and he had like these great moves. And I know the whole time Russell Wilson saying, "Oh, he scored. He's going to score right now." It's that this almost unbelievable positivity that they add to the game, and they see so many times that they add it to success. And I think Seahawks fans think the same thing. Anytime that Russell Wilson and the Seahawks offense has the ball in the fourth quarter with the game on the line, they assume they're going to score. Maybe you're not like 1,000% confident like the Seahawks are, but you're like, oh, okay, yeah, we've got a chance now. We're in it. We're still in this game. That's the Seahawks and Pete Carroll and that philosophy that's just permeated to the team and to some degree to the fan base as well.
Absolutely.
Just a quick add-in as a contrast. We've talked about it. I don't want to beat that horse too much, but we were just talking about that, the Curse situation in the Green Bay playoff game. After 4 passes thrown to Curse and all intercepted, easily Russell Wilson could have been angry because some of them were like off his hands, right? They weren't all.
Two of them were off of his hands, and then
and 2 were bad throws or maybe missed routes.
They were not easy catches for sure.
Right, but I mean, it would have been really easy for Wilson to go over and say something like, "Hey, man, this is pro, not high school. You really need to catch those. If it's hit you in the hands, right?"
Yeah.
He easily could have said it, and probably would have been justifiable. I would have understood it. And you're mad, right? You look at the stat sheet. This is the playoffs. We're going to lose because I'm throwing to you, and it's an interception every time because you can't hold on to it. But when he threw that final pass that goes to the touchdown, is there not even a small chance that could have, if he had said something negative, if he had been down on him, that would have been like a shadow in his mind a little bit? He would have been doubting himself. It's possible, right? I mean, not just like roses and like just talking theoretical. I mean, like there's a possibility he goes out for that last pass, and because of the last 4, he's expecting disaster again, and disaster happens. And but instead, you've built him back up, and he catches it, and we go to Super Bowl.
And that's the mental aspect of sports, I mean,
it's a huge aspect, and it's just that's why it just blows my mind that Arians can be like that. I think Arians is a good coach overall, and I think his team respects him as a good coach. That he's a smart guy and he makes good game plans. But I don't think they'd go to battle for him like Pete Carroll's players will. I think they'll follow him as long as he's winning. But that's a team you'd have to watch. If they hit on hard times, will they just start mailing it in?
Well, I think
that would have happened in Seattle.
That's what I think you see. I mean, Seahawks have never lost a game by double digits in the longest time. That's a huge aspect of having this core defense, having this offense, having this style of game plan that works to their advantage. Zeb, final thoughts before we succumb to all this positivity.
I think we're all on the same page here. I think we figured it out. Positivity matters. It does. We solved it.
All right. Well, let's take all this positivity and shove it up our butts because we are talking about topic 4. Are you as excited for the defense as you are worried for the offense? This is another game where in 3 close games, Seattle has averaged 7 points. They've won, tied, and lost those games. In the games that they've won, they're averaging, I think, 30 points. So the defense has been consistent in every single game. They've not given up more than 24 points. The lowest points they've given up is 6. They're averaging 4 points per game as a scoring defense. Where are you feeling about where the Seahawks are defensively and where they are offensively, Zeb?
I'm more excited for the defense than I thought I was going to be. I was kind of under the impression that this defense was going to be declining. At least it was trending that way. But they've shown that obviously that's not the case. To me, they look as good and as strong as ever. And I expect that's what I'm expecting that out of them every week to be the best defense in the league. So that's got me excited. The only thing that worries me on offense, it really is injuries, because I think that's the one thing that can really derail us, and it has kind of been in my opinion, the reason for the struggles so far. I think if our offense is healthy, then it will continue to trend upward as it has over the seasons, gotten better as the year goes on. So if we can get healthy, I would expect that. Problem is, at this point, we're not looking very healthy. So I guess we'll have to see how that goes. So, but other than injuries, I'm not particularly worried about the offense. But yeah, definitely very excited for the defense.
Yeah, Ross, what you think?
I think I'm really excited about the defense. I think I was in the same boat as Zeb. Maybe I was expecting. I thought they had sort of lost some of the eye of the tiger. I think over the offseason. And I don't think I had any reason to think that, except that that's just what happens, right? It's been 4 or 5 years since some of these teams. It's hard to keep that edge. But I was wrong. They still really, really care about every game, about every touchdown, right? They don't want to give up it. Even if we're blowing a team out and they give up a touchdown at the end, they're pissed off about that.
Yeah.
And that's goes back to, like, again, we were just talking about the positivity of how Pete Carroll includes that in how he recruits. I mean, you got people who they already got paid, and you saw people, fans going, "Oh well, Richard Sherman got paid, and he got married. He's got kids now. He's going to go soft." And that's not what I'm seeing out there. I'm seeing everybody's just afraid of him now, more than ever. The offense, am I worried? I don't think I'm worried about the offense. I think I'm expecting great things, because we've talked early in the season when Russell Wilson first got hurt. A traditional kind of running quarterback takes usually years to adjust to how to play when he no longer has his wheels. Like Donovan and McNabb to some degree. Randall Cunningham is the best example, maybe. But Russell Wilson's a really smart guy, and I think he's going to figure it out on the fly. I don't think he's going to be right until next year. I mean, people thinking like, hey, maybe week 16 he's going to be okay. No, he's not, because every week he's going to play, and every week he's going to get hurt. I like I said, they're not going to tell us what the setbacks and the injuries that happened during the game, but clearly week 7 or 6, whatever, he was hurt again. He was not moving as well around last game as he was, like I said, the game before that. So things are going to happen. He's not going to be that Russell Wilson this year. You're not going to get 200, 300, 400 yards rushing. You're going to get 60 yards rushing, and that's where we're going to be at. And Font is going to play. I rewatched Font's snaps. I wasn't as negative as I was. I think we're okay.
Yeah.
And Rawls should be coming back, and Pete Carroll seems to think Rawls is going to make a big difference. It's just one more indication that he likes Christian Michael, but not that much.
Yeah.
I'm going to step away. I got somebody at my door. Sorry.
We're going to let Ross take care of whatever he has to take care of. When it comes to being as excited for the defense and as worried for the offense, I'm definitely along with you guys that the defense is playing better than I thought they could. They're playing better. They're more ferocious. I think Chris Richard has actually done a really exceptional job in his second year as a defensive coordinator. He's playing offenses really well. I have yet to see him say, "Oh, you know what? We just don't have it today defensively. We need the offense to really bail us out." The defense is just going to be consistent. You have the one hiccup in the game against Atlanta, but that was the number one scoring offense, and he still limited them to well under their average.
Yeah.
When it comes to the offense, I know that positivity matters, but I think just like Russell Wilson's never going to be a great singer until we get healthy. I don't know how good this offense can be. Yes, we've put up points against bad defenses in the Jets, in the Niners, and to some degree the Falcons, and also actually those 3 games. Those 3 games we put up points. I don't know if we will ever get healthy enough to make me feel comfortable about where the offense is. Just due to the fact that there's so many things that I know Pete wants to do. He wants to have a balanced team. And in the first 12 plays, I think we ran the ball once or twice. I don't remember the exact number, but a lot of it had to do with, we'd go empty set, or we'd go 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and a single back. And we said, this look we're not going to be able to run out of this look. We got to pass the ball. So that's Russell Wilson trusting in his line, trusting in his receivers to say, we can pass on this. And then for whatever reason, we're not completing those easy catches or those catches we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
Did you see who we signed today?
Will Tukuafu is back. CJ Spiller, the guy that I'm not in love with, was let go. So
I was wrong. Don't add him to your fantasy football team. I was right for 1 week.
That was weird. I didn't see that coming.
Yeah,
I guess it's because Wilson, tight end Wilson, was playing a lot of fullback.
Yeah,
and he's hurt, and so they brought him in. Like, he knows the offense. They brought him in. He can play true fullback. He can play a little D. So there's another wrinkle there, right? You're coming up against some teams. You have Font possibly playing now left tackle, and he's ahead of it on as a run blocking rather than pass blocking. So Tukuafu plus Font could be recommitment to the running game.
Well, they must be expecting Ross to be on schedule to come back then.
Yeah,
I would think so.
I think the thing that's really interesting though is in the game against the Cardinals, it didn't. They never ran out of a running formation. They never ran like out of a traditional 2 tight end set, or they don't have a fullback, so they never had Brandon Williams line up as a fullback, behind the line. It didn't seem like until the overtime that they were ever comfortable with what the defense showed them to say like, okay, let's still run the ball this down. The only time that I think they tried to run the ball in an obvious running situation, it was the read option that just got snuffed out. Like they, credit Arizona's defense for really limiting what the Seahawks offense could do, but I think a lot of it had to do like kind of what is we're limited. We don't have the players, we don't have the guys healthy enough to do what we feel is going to put us in that best position.
I don't know. I last week, they never got anything going. If you don't convert the third down, you don't have drives, so you never really get to see what the game plan was. First half, literally, you didn't see anything what they were planning to do or what they wanted to do.
Now, to be fair, though, we had the worst penalties called against us. I mean, Jermaine Kearse must be straight abusing people if he's going to have his third offensive pass interference of the year. We're 6 games in.
He's got to be, he's a veteran. He has to learn, like, it doesn't matter how much you're actually pushing off. If at the end of the pushing off, his arms are extended, he's going to get that called on. That's what he does. He's barely touching him. That's what you can see when you see the replay. But watch his hands. He pushes off a little bit, but then with that space, he wants to put his hands up immediately. So it looks like he's like fully extended his arms out on the push. And I think that's why he's getting called on him.
I just think
he's
it's
not
ridiculous.
doing like a veteran type push off. Like, ask Larry Fitzgerald how to do like a veteran push off, because he got called once so far this year, but he does it every play.
Yeah, disguise it a little better.
Yeah. You got to push off, but you got to keep your hands at your side. You got to use like your wrists.
You literally have to T-Rex arm it.
Yeah, seriously, you do. Because again, go back and watch Jermaine Kearse's past OPI. He doesn't really push off, I don't think, but by the time he's done with the play, the defender's now one step in front of him, and Kearse has got his arms out, and it looks like he just pushed the dude away. It doesn't really matter what really happened. What it looks like happened is what matters to the refs.
Yeah, for sure.
But anyway,
all right. Well, as worried as we may be collectively, the best thing that can happen to any of us is to face a team like the team that Seattle is facing next week. The next opponent, New Orleans Saints, Who Dat Nation, Drew Brees, and the number 32 scoring defense.
Are they still calling themselves Who Dat? Are they doing that still, or is that kind of like Are we far enough removed from the Super Bowl that we don't have to say that anymore?
No, that's a thing. Anytime they're going to get good, it'll be a thing.
That's a thing. Just like we have the 12s. They got Who Dat.
I thought that Who Dat was like, I thought that was awful, isn't it?
No, there's Who Dey. Who Dey is a different fan base. Who Dat is.
Who's Who Dey?
That's the Bengals.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. Who Dey is Bengals.
That's worse. Yeah, that's worse.
I think it's worse.
Who Dey? Like, Who Dat is it's borderline cool, but like for like a season and a half, I don't think you could do it 6 years later. But like, Who Dey is almost like insulting. Like the Bengals, Bengal Who Dey.
Yeah.
Well, we got an NFL team here in Cincinnati. Who Dey?
Who Dey and Kusei? Isn't that like Saddam Hussein's kids?
I think that's the one they hid.
So Ross, I'm gonna hit you. You gotta go first with this. What's
Am
your
I?
it's 10 o'clock. It's Halloween weekend. It's gonna be
Yeah.
crazy in New Orleans. I know a couple of people that are flying down to this game. I know there's a
What's
big
the over under on like players who don't show up to the game because they were doing Halloween in New Orleans French Quarter?
on the
Right.
Seahawks side, probably 0.
0, yeah, but I don't know, man. Like, I can see one of those like borderline bottom feeder people not making it, and then you get cut.
Yeah, like freaking Cassius Marsh or something.
Yeah, he looks like he likes to party a little.
He just bros
Tukwuafa
out.
Will not be out there. I guarantee you, Tukwuafa will not be out there in the French Quarter.
He'll just be broed out the day before. I'm like, dude, actually, you know what? I hold that back. If there was anyone who was gonna miss the game because they partied too hard, it would be Luke Wilson. But he's injured, so he's not active anyway.
Oh yeah, I guess you're right.
Totally Luke
This
Wilson.
is when you don't want to have Charlie Whitehurst on your team. Charlie Whitehurst be out there.
Right. Or,
Anyway, so we're facing New Orleans. I kind of think they're tailor made for us, right? They want to throw the ball deep sometimes, but you're not going to do that on a Sherman. Their running game is kind of sketchy this year, and we shut that down. And they don't. Do they have a defense? Have they picked up a defense off of waivers yet?
No,
No.
it doesn't matter. They're giving up 33 points a game.
Yeah, so we're gonna score. I don't think we're gonna score 33 though. I don't think we're made for that. I think we're still. If Pete Carroll doesn't, that's not what he wants to do. Right? He doesn't want to go after the jugular. Get bombs away on him. He wants to score an effective game. I think we're gonna win, but I think we're gonna be a kind of a medium. I think we'll have more balance. We're gonna run it a bit more now with Chukwuafa and Font in there, but I think we'll have a lot of medium range passes on offense. Drew Brees is really good at home, though, right? Like in Seattle, I'd expect we could probably take 2 picks off of him, but I don't think we're going to get any interceptions. He's really good at home, so they're going to score, I think, some. But I think we're going to win. But I think the defense is up to it. But I do think they're going to have to. They are a good legit. They've got receivers out there, right, who can run all day. They're going to try to turn it into track meet, and we're going to run and slow the game down. So we'll win, but I don't think it's going to be by as much as a lot of people are expecting.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it kind of feels a lot like the Falcons game. Good offense, not very good defense, and even so, like their good offense isn't as good as the Falcons. So I guess their home field advantage, if that exists, is kind of the one thing they really have going for them. And then obviously our struggles. But yeah, I think we should be able to move the ball. We should be able to put up some points. I'd like to see our defense kind of feast and maybe have a good 3-4 turnover game. That would be fun.
God, that would be nice.
Yeah. So that's I don't know that I'm expecting that to be that way, but that's sure what I'd like to see, and I think we're capable of it.
So here's a crazy stat for you guys. So in the last game that the Saints played, do you know how many times they played with a nickel corner? So they played 3 corners and 2 safeties. Guess how many times they played in that kind of a defense in their last game?
17.
Okay, Ross?
I have no idea.
Give me a number.
What did Zeb said? 17. I'm going to go with 19.
0. They did not play a nickel corner the entire game that they played.
What are they doing?
They played a 4-3. 4 down linemen, 3 linebackers, 2 corners, and 2 safeties.
So how are they going to cover Lockett and Richardson?
So,
do you have to cover Lockett right now? He shouldn't even be playing.
He shouldn't be playing, but this is the thing that I look at. If that's the matchup, that means you've got Jimmy Graham coming back to New Orleans, coming back to the team where he made his name, and he's going to have a safety or a linebacker covering him. Definitely not a corner covering him. That's not a matchup that they want. That's not a matchup that the Saints should want. This is probably the best opportunity for Seattle to quote-unquote get healthy on offense. As worried as I am for the offense because I know they're not healthy, this is a game tailor-made for them to make everyone believe in them again. Not just from like, oh yeah, power rankings or, oh yeah, the offense kind of figured it out. It's like, no, let's get healthy. Let's put up some points. Let's get Russell Wilson in a groove. Let's get rhythm. Let's feed the guys that we need to feed in order for them to be successful. The number two.
Okay, so Sam, let me interrupt you for just 1 second. On the fly, I'm introducing a new tiny mini segment inside a segment.
We're inception segments.
If this is the game where our offense gets healthy, who's your breakout player for the season? Like who's the guy who's so far this year hasn't made the influence, the impact you thought he would, that this game is going to come back alive?
If I had to guess and say there's someone that's going to come alive, I'm actually going to say Jermaine Kearse. Jermaine Kearse has a really quiet year. He's had some crazy penalties called against him. But I think if I'm the Saints, if I have to lock down two people, I'm going to try to lock down Doug Baldwin. I'm going to try and lock down Jimmy Graham. And that means I have an opportunity for Kearse to get one-on-one. This is a chance for him to get that opportunity, get that one-on-one matchup, and beat someone. T-Rex arms all day so he doesn't get a offensive pass interference. But he's a matchup that I like because who on the Saints do you know of defensively?
That guy.
Exactly. Who dat?
Oh wait, Vaccaro, the safety, Vaccaro.
Did they signed up Bird, right? Is that right? Overpriced safety.
Jarius Bird? Yeah, they signed him 2 years ago, and he's been awful.
And he's done nothing. Yeah.
But this is a team that does not have a nickel corner that they are comfortable at playing. They would rather put out a 246-3 linebacker, outside linebacker, against a corner, against a slot receiver, or against the tight end. That's saying something. And if I'm gonna pick someone to get healthy, to say like, oh hey, this guy's finally back, or Russell Wilson has a weapon that's on display, my money's on Jermaine Kearse. Who would you guys pick?
You've made a good case for Jermaine Kearse. What do you think, Zeb?
Well, my heart says Lockett, but I'm actually going to go with C-Mike. I think he's going to have a breakout game.
That's a good call, too. He's got a really good opportunity this week.
Or pro size. Who knows?
Hopefully it's pro size because of injuries, had to add him onto my fantasy football team. Okay, Sam, I just looked up and I see why they can't play a third corner. Their third and fourth cornerbacks are Devontae Harris and Ken Crawley. So that's
Crawley.
Yeah, Crawley. Yeah, what?
Household name.
Crawley's a rookie.
And they're not picking up anyone to play a game on Sunday for sure.
Who are they going to get? Dion?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they're kind of hurting. Yeah, both their number 3 and number 4 cornerbacks are both rookies.
Yeah,
one guy's from Mesquite, Texas. Seriously, he's from Mesquite, Texas. I didn't even make that up.
Isn't that crazy?
He's 5'11", 190, all soaking wet. He wears like Michael Bennett type like shoulder pads, like puncher shoulder pads. It looks like.
Tight.
Yeah, that's a bad look. That's a bad look.
Hopefully, we can take advantage of that. Then.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Baldwin though. Baldwin, like he's on track for a good number of receptions and yards, but he's way behind in his touchdowns. I never thought he was gonna get 14 again anyway, but I picked Baldwin to have 2 touchdowns this game. Write that down.
Yeah,
I like it.
All right.
I think that's the one thing that this matchup provides Seahawks fans, to say that, hey, this is the worst defense from a scoring perspective. This is an opportunity for Seattle to put up points, let people back away from the edge if any of them are. But that kind of leads us into our next topic. So this is the last topic for tonight, and this one's a really interesting one because I know people are going to be all over the place. Seahawks are in the driver's seat when it comes to the NFC West at 4-1-1. Do we need to pick up some offensive linemen? Do we need to get some hitchhikers to carry us through? This is something that I know a lot of people are speculating. Someone was talking about Minnesota making a trade. I haven't seen anything come through with them, but Joe Thomas is apparently available. Who's the other guy?
Staley.
Joe Staley. Two Joes are available.
Joe and Joe.
For first or second round picks. I mean, Seahawks don't even use a first round pick, and if the Niners acquire someone, they're just going to waste it on
Honestly,
somebody.
do we use our second round pick? I guess second round picks are like Kristen Michael, who we have because we got him up as a free agent. And was P. Rich a second rounder?
Paul Richardson was a second rounder, yeah.
So yeah, our second rounders are Paul Richardson, who has like 3 career catches, and Kristen Michael, who's on the team but only cut by others.
Wasn't Lockett a second, or was he a third?
I want to say Lockett's a third.
I think Bobby Wagner was a second.
Frank Clark's a second.
Okay, so we have done some stuff with seconds. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought. Maybe.
Yeah, first rounders we don't have anyone.
Tyler Lockett was drafted in the third.
Yeah,
third.
Jermaine Ifedi is the first round pick, and before Jermaine Ifedi, it was Bruce Irvin.
Yeah.
So you have to go a ways between. But Zeb, what do you think? Do the Seahawks need to make some trades? Do they need to wheel and deal to help our offensive line, help our quarterback, help our running game?
I mean, should we bring in a Joe? I mean, yeah, I think I'd like to see it. I think it would probably be helpful considering our situation, but I don't think they're going to do it. I don't see them making a big blockbuster move. What is the trading deadline this week?
I think it's like
Monday.
Yeah.
Sorry, it might be Tuesday. Sorry, Tuesday.
I don't see it happening. I just, it's just a guess, just a gut feeling, but I don't think they're going to do it. I'd like to see them do something, but if they don't feel like they need to, if they're confident with what we got and who we got coming back, then, hey, I'm on board. I'm on the roller coaster. Let's do it.
What about you, Russ? What do you think? If you're John Snyder right now, how quick are you to call someone up?
I thought this is a really good opportunity this week because this is not a unique train of thought. I stole this train of thought, but it sounded kind of correct to me. We're talking about positivity earlier, and you're building people up. You're building people up, and then like week 6 of the regular season, you go and make a trade for somebody, and what is that message, right? It's like when they used to talk about Richard Sherman not switching sides. Well, when he doesn't switch sides, it's showing a lot of confidence in the other side. When you tell him, like, now you have to follow so-and-so around all day, what is the message you're sending to the other cornerback? Same thing. Of course, you want to win games. But this week was, like, I thought the best of both worlds because we had an injury, right? Left tackle's injured.
Yeah.
Now you use that excuse to bring somebody in. Like, hey, you didn't lose your job. You're not good enough. You're hurt. Have a seat. We'll bring in Joe. I wanted Joe. I really, after the game, I just, I had that. I would have been on the phone. I wanted Joe Thomas. People say he's getting a little old and such, this and that and the other thing, but we can afford him. I think I saw his price at $4.2 million. We got $6 million in cap space. That leaves $1.8 to cover other injuries later in the season. Thought it was perfect, but it's not the Seahawks way, is it? That's not what they're about. They're going to build up their guys. And so last night I went and watched Font's 25 snaps again. He's going to be our left tackle for the next few games, it looks like. And I didn't hate it anymore. I wasn't suicidal. He has potential. Especially in run blocking, he a couple plays, he was knocking off their defensive end. I mean, he pushed back Chandler Jones on running plays a couple times, more than who just got hurt.
Bradley Sowell.
Yeah, more than Sowell. Sowell sometimes on defense. On run blocking was okay. He could anchor. But he didn't get a lot of push. Font, first game ever getting real time in football, not like in the NFL, like ever, because he didn't play before. He actually was getting real push. In pass pro, it wasn't as good of a story, so I'm a little worried. But I think that just kind of plays in the narrative. We brought in Tukuafu. We're playing the Saints. We got to slow down the track meet. I think it's going to be like really run heavy with some play action passes to Baldwin this week. So I personally would have made the call. I would have said, have my second rounder, or a third and a fourth and a fifth or whatever. I don't know. I would have given some. I really wanted somebody, but I know that's not what's going to happen, and we got to trust, right, that they know what they're doing because they've shown they do know what they're doing.
Right.
Yeah, I kind of agree with both of you guys that it would be cool to make a splash, but it's probably the most un-Seahawk thing conceivable. we've never seen them panic. We've never seen them stray off of course. Even last year when they had Patrick Lewis on the bench and they tried to trot out someone at center and it didn't work, and all of a sudden they make a change mid-year and it looks amazing. That's so unlikely to happen with this team because they believe so much in their philosophy. They believe so much in how they build their team that I can't see them doing something mid-year. I can't see them making
Other than
that kind
Lynch,
of a
have they
splash.
brought in somebody big mid-year?
No.
Lynch was brought in like after 5th or 6th game, right?
But the thing is, with Lynch, they were talking about that all off season. Like Pete Carroll and John Snyder had been trying forever to get Marshawn Lynch. And
you don't think John Snyder's called the Cleveland Browns?
But you haven't. But here's the difference. The difference though is everyone knew Seattle was going after Marshawn Lynch hard. Like every local Seattle station had said, "Oh yeah, Seahawks are trying to acquire Marshawn Lynch right now." So those talks were real enough. They were far enough that enough people had picked it up. The Seahawks are so tight-lipped that we don't hear those kind of stories anymore. But it doesn't seem like something they would do. You look at the Jimmy Graham trade, you look at the Percy Harvin trade. Those were acquisitions to address a need. Percy Harvin, not a need. It was more of like, hey, this is an all-time great athlete. Let's bring him to the fold and see if he can help us out. That didn't pan out. They moved on from it. But I can't see how that they would address last year in their offensive line and all of a sudden change because last year.
But don't you think the injury gave a little bit of a window?
It gave a window, but it's still outside of their realm. You look at what they've done when it comes to how they take care of injuries. They don't get the brand new guy. They get someone from the practice squad, or they get a Tukuafu. They get a guy who's familiar with the team, and they bring him back into the fold.
Okay, so are you comfortable with Font?
I am unclear because I try to think about where we were last year. Last year when we were crapping the bed at the beginning of the year and had to go on a strain to get to 11-5 last year. I look at how the offensive line was, and all the question marks we had, and all the injuries we suffered, and to see them not make a move then, I don't know how they could say that they're ready to make a move now. Because if you were to compare the offensive lines that we had last year versus what we had this year, I would have to think that this line is better in some regards than last year's offensive line. We lucked out by having a better running back in Thomas Rawls that played to our strength, whereas I think Christian Michael, as good as he's played as a backup, isn't the same kind of a runner. He's not a zone blocking scheme runner. He's a one cut and go, which means that the offensive line really has to execute and create that crease for him. And once he gets that crease, he'll fire out of a cannon. But that's one of the reasons why I think, like you mentioned earlier, Ross, that Pete Carroll is really looking forward to Thomas Rawls coming back. And I don't see them making that change because the plan is, and they stick to their plans, Thomas Rawls is coming back. These guys are going to be able to execute a zone blocking scheme that Tom Cable wants, and that our key player will be able to play and develop.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Closing thoughts. Any crazy trades that you'd try and push through if you were the coach or the GM?
No, I'd probably stand pat.
Okay, here's it's not that I'm in favor of this, but let's just put it out there. What would you take if somebody wanted Cam Chancellor?
I wouldn't trade
their life.
I would if push came to shove, I wouldn't trade him. But if you had to trade him away, I wouldn't take less than a second.
I mean, because we just finished last game against Cardinals, we played 46 minutes on defense, gave up 6 points, and he wasn't on the field.
Yeah, but I also think that if he were playing, I imagine that he would have been better. I mean, congrats to Kelsey McRae. He played a very, very good game. And part of the reason is, you didn't hear his name called, but the biggest play he made was when he stopped the touchdown in the end of overtime.
Oh, yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I love Cam. I mean, I have his Super Bowl jersey and everything. I just think that his he's got the signs out that he's breaking down, right? Couple games last year, couple games this year. The random stuff starting to happen, and we know how he plays and how he has played. And we talked about he's 28, 29. He's older than we think. I'm just thinking, like, maybe as a businessman, as the Patriots way, for example, if you want to follow their model, this might be the chance to get something for him.
I'm gonna cry when he leaves the game. So
I would agree with you.
But would you be happy with a second round pick, though?
I don't. I mean, I guess I would put on a brave face.
I would say this. While he's missed games, and that's definitely impacted us, his level of play when he's there, I feel more confident in what he brings to the team and what we want to do this year. Now, maybe in this offseason, because he's still signed for one more year, that's the time that you look at it. But I would say right now, a draft pick doesn't do you enough. The value of him being on the team, he's so important. The way that you hear people talk about Cam Chancellor, he's so valuable. They call him the Godfather because he is the one that sets the tone for them, not in just the way that they play defense, but how they conduct themselves as well. So I would say because he has not lost a leg yet, he potentially is going to play this weekend. He is still a vital part to our team.
For the record, I agree. I just wanted to see what you guys would say.
Yeah. I just wanted to make sure you guys didn't agree with my back thoughts, so I want to provide you with this forward thought.
No, I mean, I'm just saying, because it's a legitimate question, isn't it?
It is. It's a realistic possibility.
A business model type decision, like he's in his last year and a half. He's still under contract. You can get something for that contract before he's either broken down or we can't keep him anymore.
Yeah, and I think that's something that they would look at the offseason.
If he plays on this contract, he's going to want another big one probably because he still want to play. But we can't pay him what he's going to want on this next contract. We can't. We'll have to let him walk.
Yeah.
If he finishes out this season strong, makes a Pro Bowl, maybe All Pro, and retires after this season, is he a Hall of Famer?
Oh man, that's
really hard, isn't it? I think it's like an easy situation where it's not enough years at the peak.
Yeah.
Is it not though? Because now we're talking about 7 seasons.
He's made 4 out of the 5 last Pro Bowls.
Right.
His first 2 years. Remember when he first got that big contract? Everybody thought he wasn't that high level yet. Everybody thought Seattle had overpaid. It ended up being that Seattle just saw where he was about to be. It was a perfect contract. It's one of the rare contracts that's absolutely perfect, really.
Yeah.
He probably got a little overpaid in the first year of it, and then underpaid a little later on, but it works out, which is why I was mad at him last year. But I don't know. Because, he wasn't like early on in the contract. He was like, here, I haven't earned all the money back. So, he didn't say that. So, yeah, you've slightly outperformed your contract later on. Come on, man. I don't know. It's gonna be a really hard offseason next year when you start talking with guys like that. Earl Thomas is getting up there, and now you're gonna start thinking about how many more years is he gonna be at that level. Anyway,
I don't like thinking about that. Damn it.
I don't like it when mommy and daddy fight.
We got to be like all like Bill Belichick and hard and non-emotional and stuff.
I'd rather tie than have to lose Earl Thomas and
I'd tie every game for a season. 0-16, baby.
Yeah. No, I think it's a really great question, but I think the thing is that question is not going to be available to Seahawks fans or even to the front office until the end of this year.
Sure.
You look at this defense, you look at how great they've playing. I mean, where they project to be is better than the 2013 team. I mean, you have various players that are basically having career years when they had a career year a year ago or 2 years ago. Michael Bennett is as great as he has been. Cliff Averill has taken it to another level, and he's already been great.
Averill's the man this year, man.
I mean,
absolutely.
My thought process is if Cliff Averill never gets concussed in the Super Bowl or in the NFC game against the Panthers last year, that's 2 games we win because I feel he's so underrated and under the radar in some aspects, but he's just so good. Him and Michael Bennett together are an incredible force. You look at Earl Thomas. I know everyone said Earl Thomas had a bad first 2 games, but you've seen him come on. That's I think the 3rd or 4th play where he is shot out like 12 yards back and almost intercepts a ball. It's incredible
Yeah,
how
that
quick
pick six, we would have had the game.
Yeah, it's incredible to think about how close he is, and these are not like gimme things that he's dropping. He's coming from 12, 15 yards deep to make a play at the line of scrimmage. It's really incredible. And then you see Bobby Wagner and what he did in his last game. You know, those are the four huge components of your team. You look at Richard Sherman. You know, people want to talk about maybe the Julio Jones game with Atlanta, but Richard Sherman has had a really great year. You know, people want to give him a hard time because people have caught touchdowns this year, but it's unheard of that he can continue to be a guy that gives up less than 5 touchdowns a year, or the Seahawks at all give up that many passing touchdowns. So it's going to be a tough conversation, and I know it's coming soon, and it's something I think we as fans are going to have to really, really prepare for because it's going to be such a huge change one day.
Well,
Why would you think I
made
put
me
the trade?
excited for Sunday? The defense is on fire right now, man.
Number one scoring defense versus number one scoring, 32nd scoring defense. So first and last place scoring defenses are going to be a matchup. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm excited for it. We don't have any questions. We don't have any fan topics. So anyone listening, if you made it this far, send us questions. We'd love to rabble a little bit longer.
I got a question real quick. I was just thinking about this. You know Lindsay Rhodes on NFL Network?
No.
You don't know Lindsay Rhodes?
No. Should I know who this person is? I'm assuming it's a girl.
Yeah, this question isn't going to work if you don't know her. Ross, do you know her?
No, I don't know. Sorry.
Well,
give us a question anyway.
Well, the question is, would you or wouldn't you?
Oh, well, I can Google.
She used to be Lindsay Soto, and now she's Lindsay Rhodes, so she's on able. But I don't know. I'm kind of into her.
Let's see. I don't know, man.
Nah, that's not my flavor.
She's not a classic. She's interesting looking.
Oh, I think she's attractive, but she's just not my kind. Not my kind of flavor.
You like a little bit you like your coffee dark?
Maybe.
I'm just being stupid now. I think I'm delirious.
He likes decaf. Yeah. Yeah, maybe.
You gotta watch her. You gotta see her on the stage walk around in those heels. Pretty impressive.
I'll make a point. Is she like on the morning show or what?
No, she's like on All Access, I think.
I'll check her out, and we'll discuss this next time.
Yes.
All right, that'll be our opening topic next week.
That's our homework. So
All
what's your prediction for the game? Wrap up. What's your prediction?
Zeb.
Going first.
I'm gonna say 27-17.
Seahawks, right?
Of course.
All right, 27-17. Sam?
I'm gonna say 30-10.
10.
Yeah.
I like it.
Seahawks.
You think we're gonna lock them down?
Yeah. We're not gonna make the same mistakes we did against Atlanta. As good as their offense is, Drew Brees actually hasn't played that well against Seattle, whether it's at home or away.
That's true.
I think the last time that the Saints have actually beat Seattle was the Hasselbeck year. That was Pete Carroll's first year. That's the last time that the Saints have actually beat Seattle.
Wow.
All right. I think something to think about, isn't it? I think I'm going to 31.
If you say 11, you son of a bitch, you're trying to Price is Right me right now.
31-31. No, I'm going to go 31-17. I think I like that. 17. No, 14. I'm going to go 31-14. 31-14 feels right.
This guy totally priced right our predictions.
I am. I'm Price is Righting you. I'm got it closest without going over. I give behind curtain number 2. I'm going 31-14 actually. Yeah.
Okay. I think those are all legitimate possibilities. I mean, we're talking about high 20s, low 30s for scoring on the Seahawks side against this number 32 ranked scoring defense, and then you've got the Saints limited to 17 points at most when they're averaging, about 28 or 30, I believe. So that's a good matchup. I like it.
If it's a tie, what will you do?
Oh, if there's a tie, I'm gonna kiss all your sisters. That's what I'm gonna do.
If there's a tie, I'm going to petition the league for a rule change.
So there you go.
That is a very Seattle thing to do. What you're doing there down in Portland, there, Zeb. Seattle's apparently a big fan of the petitions, especially like the petition.org ones.
Well, you know, we're very liberal here in the Northwest.
Yeah. All right.
The coasts.
Final shout-outs. Ross doesn't have any shout-outs because he knows everyone loves him.
I have a shout-out this time. I'm going to shout out to Tony because he listens to this every week and puts up with our nonsense. And so, yeah, there you go, Tony.
Oh, what's up, Tony?
Thanks, Tone.
Yeah. There's my shout-out.
Zeb.
Check out the new and improved triplebpodcast.com.
Did you update your website?
Yeah, we got a new working version up. It's still in process, but it's a new site. It should be more user friendly and just better overall. So check that out. And
user friendly is the worst.
It's prettier too. I'll give it that.
Okay.
And Monday we're doing our Triple B podcast Halloween special, which is sure to be hilarious. So give it a listen.
Yes, if you haven't, Triple B is on Facebook and SoundCloud. Check them out; they're hilarious. Shout outs to all my coworkers who listen to me ramble on. Thank you, everyone. I know this is a little bit of a longer episode today, but we had a lot of really cool stuff to talk about. I'd like to thank everyone for stopping by, and as always, say go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Peace, everybody.
Peace out. Good night.